Welcome in for a very exciting episode here with Sons of Dynasty. We appreciate you all tuning in with us this evening. I will be your host. You can find me on Twitter at Dan Brown NFL, and here with me tonight is my co-host and residential cook here at the clubhouse, Beezy B. You can find him on Twitter at TheBeezyBFF. What is cooking, B?
What up, man? That's another Wednesday night. Super excited to be here for this show. Forgive my voice. I got the sniffles. I'm battling something that's not COVID, so that's all that I care about. And just gonna kind of getting through it, my man.
Well, man, I hope you kick it quickly and are able to make a full recovery. But also with us tonight is a good friend of ours, and as of February now, a full-time analyst there with FantasyPros. Some have even referred to him as my FF Twitter doppelganger, D-Bro himself, the man who brings the energy to the microphone each and every time, Derek Brown. You can find him at D-Bro_FFB. Derek, what is going on, my brother?
Dan, Bees, what's up, fellas? Thank y'all for having me. It's going to be a blast. One, because, I mean, honestly, Dan, we've had a chance, and, you know, I'm going to remind you of this constantly. We've had a chance to already chop it up on a show before this, but Bees, this is the first time.
Yeah.
I brought a drink. I got a drink for you, sir, so you're trying to start things off right for this first-time date. Not a blind date. We've talked before, but nevertheless, it's going to be a good one, man.
Yeah, excited.
Yeah, man, we are excited to have you here tonight. I joke about the doppelganger, obviously, D Brown, probably something that you were referred to as.
Let's bring this back. I don't want to sit here and interrupt you, but let's talk about this for a second. That used to be a real damn thing. Like, people would tag me or you and stuff, and I never knew who the hell they were actually talking to. Didn't you have like a different like tagline or different Twitter handle or something like that? And at the time I was like, dude, like I don't know whether I should answer this and I'm stepping on toes, or maybe it was the most confusing social media quandary probably that I've ever been in. And that's not being hyperbolic. Like, we used to get tagged religiously, and I'm like, I don't want to be a rude asshole, but I don't know whether I should answer this.
Well, it's funny because I did eventually end up changing my Twitter handle. It was dbrownff88, and it was fine, but I did end up changing it. And this was kind of early on before I really was even putting my name, face out there constantly. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that you did have something to do with me changing it. And because we were getting mistaken for each other. I told you, I got my league winnings. It was a t-shirt and a hat or something from a league that I was in. And it had my address right, but it was addressed to Derek Brown. And I was just like, you know what? That's fine with me. And I've been on at least one or two podcasts where I was referred to as Derek. And I want to interrupt. I want to say, oh, that's not me. You know, my name's Dan. But I almost
did you go through the entire episodes? Yeah. Did you go through the entire episodes and didn't say shit?
I mean,
please tell me you didn't do that, Dan. Come on.
I feel like I'm stepping on your coattails as you're trucking through the snow, and I'm almost just kind of sitting back and getting a free ride, if you will. So, but we decided that I needed to correct that, and I threw the Dan in there. There was going to be no more discrepancies on which D Brown it was when people were tagging me on Twitter. So I'm glad we were able to get past that and to see the both of us now blossom with our Twitter handles and always have that in common. It's something that I'm going to live by as we continue our friendship down the line.
I mean, bald dude, beard, talks fantasy. Okay, I could see why they would, kind of get it a little bit confused. Yeah, I think you have more hair than me, but still.
You don't know.
You still have more hair than me, okay? There's still more up there, okay? Just saying. Okay. People are like, oh, you need to grow it out. And I'm like, this shit looks like a crop circle. This looks like aliens were trying to sit here and communicate a message to another like race of people. Like, this doesn't look good when it gets longer. No. People are like, is that a triangle in your head? No. Triangles of 3. No. Oh, damn it. Is that a prism? What are you going for?
I'm well past the attempting to grow it out, to comb it over, to fluff it up, or any.
Have you reached the stage that I'm at, and I just want to get it all lasered off and never have to worry about shaving my damn head anymore? I'm just like, look, here's the thing: either give me all of it or none of it. Like, I don't want this in between stage, dude. Just either take it all or I want it all back. Come on.
Yep. I got to get that, dude. I got this big old circle right here that when my hair grows in, you can absolutely see it. So I have taken it all down.
Oh, you got the Friar Tuck. Okay.
Yeah. It's gangster sometimes, you know, if you wear it right, you rock it properly.
All three of us are wearing hats for a reason this evening, but nonetheless, we could talk about our olding bald issues all night long, and I'm sure a laundry list of other things. But let's move along here. Beezy, tell the listeners here about Fantasy Points Live.
Yeah. So SOD are proud members of Fantasy Points Live. With our promo code SUNS22, you can get 10% off at fantasypoints.com. They have a ton of new content coming your way right now, including Graham Barfield's off-season stat pack and John Hansen's underdog fantasy best ball draft plan. Go check it out, because if you ride with Fantasy Points, you'll score more in 22 and beyond.
Absolutely, man. We are thrilled to be a part of the Fantasy Points media group and all the great content that they are putting out there over at Fantasy Points. I mean, D-Bro,
shout out to my boy Brett Whitefield, who's now a part of the Fantasy Points team, man. Like, what they're going to do with the data side is going to be fantastic. Brett and Chris Wecht are first of all, they're two damn amazing humans, and second of all, they're extremely I can't even stress that enough. They're extremely good at what they do. So I'm excited. I'm going to be subbing there for their stats and stuff like that, because good Lord, I'm a stat whore, so I have subs to everywhere. So it's going to be really, really good stuff, I'll tell you that.
If you are going to get that sub, Derek, look no further than the promo code here on the screen, SUNS22.
Takes out pen, writes down SUNS22.
And 10% off will be there in your pocket, sir. But again, we love what Fantasy Points is doing, the growth that they've had just over the past year alone, and what they're really opening up to. I mean, it's gotten bigger and better. And just like fantasy football, when we're looking at these prospects, you want to see that growth and them continually get better. Well, that's what's happening at Fantasy Points. They are taking it to the next level this year, and we're just happy to be a part of it here with the media group. All right, fellas, let's move on into the meat and potatoes, if you will, here of the show. And in this segment, we are going to look at the Fantasy Pros Dynasty Expert Consensus Rankings. And we're going to take 4 guys from a similar range at each position. We'll take a minute to talk about each one of the options before I end up asking you guys to lock one of them in. If we were in a Dynasty startup today and you were in need of this position, and these are the top 4 options that you're looking at, I want to know which one you're going with. And let's start at the quarterback position. All right. And I'll go ahead and name the 4 guys we got here. We have Tua, who's coming in at QB 17 currently, Mac Jones, QB 18, Zach Wilson, QB 19, and Kenny Pickett coming in at QB 22. A little bit of rookie love here with some other young guys. I mean, all these guys bunched right in here are really in a similar position as far as longevity goes, and if you will. Any of them stand out to you initially?
Go ahead, Bees. Okay.
Go ahead, Beezy.
All right, yeah. Oh, man. So we all know that I got a lot of love for Tua. He has definitely been one of my, biggest dynasty buys for a while now. I think with him, you've seen a kid that had like this devastating injury in college. You almost thought it could be a career ender for him. And then, he comes in, he gets drafted in the first round. He goes to the Dolphins. He has a kind of a rough rookie season. And last year, you saw a lot of growth with him, but, he didn't really take it to that next level that a lot of people wanted him to. My biggest thing with that was I think the coaching was a massive issue. I think the offensive line was terrible. That kid was getting pummeled all the time. I mean, the offensive line was so bad. It's like, his depth of target, was like 7.4, 6.8 yards per completion. This had everything to do with his offensive line just not being able to keep him upright and keep him from, getting quick feet. I mean, he was just getting attacked everywhere. They have done a lot. They brought in Taron Armstead. They brought in Connor Williams for the offensive line. They hit up Edmonds, Mostert. You get Tyreek Hill as a wide receiver, Cedric Wilson. They brought in Teddy Bridgewater as the 2 and also as a mentor. This offense, and obviously the big thing here is Mike McDaniel is coming over from San Fran, becoming this offensive coach, well, the head coach. He is going to get this system down right, and Tua is going to thrive in the system that he creates for him. With Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, you got yak machines out there. So all Tua's got to do is just go out there, get a little bit better each game. Get it, his completion percentage last year was 67.8. So it's not like he wasn't accurate. He just got to get that long ball going. They got to open up the offense a little bit more. I think with this offense, they can this year. So that would be my guy.
Yeah, with Tua, he averaged 16.2 fantasy points per game last season, good enough for QB 16, and that's after averaging 16.6 fantasy points per games started and finished minus his benchings his rookie season. Now, as you mentioned, following the arrival of Tyreek Hill, I think everybody can kind of get a peek of him taking that next step 1 year further removed from the injury. I don't think it's out of bounds to say that most people are kind of buying into almost a put up or shut up year for Tua as of now. Derek, what are your thoughts on Tua?
I mean, out of this group, I think Tua stands head and shoulders above the rest of the guys. I mean, that's the guy that I want to pick here because I've never understood the slander with Tua. I still don't understand why people just love to sit here and crack jokes because they're all ridiculous. Like it comes down to the fact of people make the same tired ass jokes and they're all like, it's not funny. It really isn't. Like, the fact that you're just showing your bias. If I were to sit here and tell you any quarterback, and I take away the names for all of this, and I said, you have a quarterback in fantasy that is outside the top 15 in Dynasty quarterbacks right now. And last year, he finished first in deep ball completion rate. He finished 10th in pressured completion rate. And he was top 10 in play action, red zone, and clean pocket. And you're going to tell me, oh, I don't want that guy. Oh, let's shade that guy. No, that's Tua. That's Tua Tagovailoa. Like, I don't understand why everybody's got this freaking problem and they want to talk about his arm and stuff. Does he have a cannon like Josh Allen? No. Does he need a cannon like Josh Allen? No. Can he make all the throws that you need to make, even short, intermediate, and downfield, and accurately? Just because he wasn't going deep a ton doesn't mean that he has a shit arm. Just because he wasn't going deep a ton doesn't mean that he can't. In the small sample that we have of Tua going deep, he was really good at it. And now we have Jalen Waddle, and now we have Tyreek Hill in the building. Plus, you have athletic monsters all across the field, okay? Chase Edmonds in this backfield is going to do great in the screen game. You also have other athletic players. Like, I can go all the way up and down the depth chart. I mean, Mike Gesicki's a low-hanging fruit. Yeah. I still love Hunter Long. And I'm not even going to go all the way to the UDFA world of Tanner Connor, although I am going to bring up his name. But This is a good coaching staff. And Tua is surrounded by good skill players and much improved offensive line. I don't understand the shade. I really do not get it. Because if Tua comes out there and he balls out this year, I think that there is a way where he can be a top 12 quarterback this year if everything, the stars align, and he throws for a bunch of touchdowns. Hell, we might even see him run more, now being off the injury to his hip for multiple seasons. And you're telling me with a better with a better offensive scheme that he can't be a top 12 quarterback? Like, people need to miss me with all that shade because it's bullshit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. I love it. I think I really like the weapons that they put around him, and they really kind of fit what we know Tua is capable of. So I am buying at that price. I think you could see a nice little ROI this time next year when we see him take that step with these weapons. You might be looking at him as a back-end QB1 this time next year. So I am buying at this current price tag. Derek, anybody else here, or who's the next quarterback that stands out to you that you'd be interested in here?
It's probably Mac Jones. The thing about Mac Jones is that, is he ever going to run? No. Is there a range of outcomes where Mac Jones can be can New England evolve into a team that's going to pass more? That's where I think the difference is between some of these other quarterbacks. Like Kenny Pickett, I'm sorry. I think he could be a league average starter. I think that you could win possibly with Kenny Pickett if they put all the good pieces around him. I don't know if Kenny Pickett's ever going to turn into a quarterback that you win because of. And that means not only from a real life NFL perspective, but even a fantasy perspective. Like, is he ever going to run and throw enough to where we're going to see a top 12 outcome for him? A lot of people were higher. I mean, all the Joe Burrow comparisons were terrible. People should automatically just delete those tweets. Go back, search them, delete those tweets. Joe Burrow and Kenny Pickett should never be mentioned in the same freaking sentence. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Mac Jones, at least we know he is really damn accurate. He is a really good passer. Is he ever going to give you anything for rushing? Hell no. We're not going to see that. But is there a range of outcomes where he ever falls into an offensive system? And I don't think that's this year with, oh, good Lord, Patricia or Judge. One of them may be calling plays. Maybe Coach Bill gets involved. Who the hell knows? I don't feel great about Mac this year, but is there a range of outcomes where, because of his abilities as a passer, New England goes, all right, you know what? Screw it. Sling the rock. Let's go. Yeah. That I see in a range of outcomes higher than somebody like Zach Wilson. And this is not me throwing shade at Zach Wilson, but I even went back there and I put a tweet out a long time ago talking about Zach Wilson's probably one of my favorite QB2s. And I threw it out there like, I was like, man, I really love the skill sets. I love all the guys around him. The Jets are making really, really good decisions. Really good decisions. And with Zach Wilson, you're really just hoping and praying that he takes this next step. And if you look at all of his metrics, look, when I was on Tua before walking into last season, I was like, there are ways and numbers that where if you squint and you look at this in different parts of the season where you could tell yourself a story of upside. I went through all of Zach Wilson's numbers, even the back half of the season where he came back from injury and played down the stretch. Although it was improved, his numbers were still terrible, guys. And it's not that I don't think that he doesn't have the talent, but I was always lower on Zach Wilson than probably consensus, even as a prospect. Like all these Patrick Mahomes comparisons, and you see him threading the needle and deep throws and stuff. There was a lot of stuff at BYU that he was not going to see in the NFL, both from just like clean pocket perspective, which you could see the Jets are trying to say, okay, you don't deal with pressure well. You don't deal with pressure well at all. Okay, we're just going to build up this mountain in front of you, and nobody's ever going to get through it because their offensive line is quietly, I think, going to be top 8, top 10 this year. Yeah. So if I got to pick a second guy out of this range, it'd be Mac Jones, and I'm probably not interested in the other guys here.
I'll go with it. I agree with man. I was a huge Mac Jones fan coming in. Myself and FF Term were two guys that were just pounding the table for Mac. I just said this kid's the best quarterback in this class, in my opinion, or not. Maybe not in the class, but he's right up there with the top, 2 or 3. The New England offense is going to need to evolve eventually. This division just keeps getting tougher and tougher. You got Buffalo's got a stacked offense. Miami's on the rise. The Jets are at least they're getting players in there. And will Zach Wilson take that step? That's a big question mark for me. But eventually, with the way that Mac played, this is like Belichick was just giving this kid his first year, he was trying to take it easy on him and make it comfortable for him. He was getting that run game going. He was just basically having him do the basics. Just get that down. He'll start to evolve as they go. And as they start to play, better teams, the competition gets better within their own division. They're going to be forced to throw some more. So I think Mac Jones is a great, quarterback too, that you can get for a super flex, especially right now, at a discount. Because he's not going for very much. I mean, honestly, Zach Wilson, never a fan. I still not a fan, even though I've grabbed him in a few. But they're adding weapons around him. Breece Hall should be a big help for him out of that backfield, giving him that stability as a running back. And Garrett Wilson hopefully will become his best friend because I love Garrett Wilson. And then, Kenny Pickett, I'm a Steeler guy. This one kind of broke my heart a little bit. I did not expect them to go Pickett, in the first round. If anything, I thought they might go out and grab Malik, but this was definitely a shocker pick.
They got scared, Bees. They got scared. I think they got scared.
I agree. And you know what? They should have gone Malik, man. Popped him behind Trubisky for a year, even 2 if that's necessary. But, they went and they got Pickett. And now we might have a quarterback battle here, which I really don't think it's going to be. I think Mitch is a starter. Maybe Pickett gets some lineup, but not a huge fan of Pickett moving forward. If I'm desperate for a quarterback, like for depth in a super flex, and I can get him in a good spot in the draft, maybe, but not really targeting him anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, one thing with Pickett you gotta say is the weapons and the offenses that he's in. That's friendly right there. So while I'm not a big believer in Pickett, obviously the Steelers saw enough to give him the capital and essentially the keys. Yes, Mitch Trubisky is there, but he can essentially be cut after one season here. So we might see a competition. Maybe we don't even see Kenny Pickett till midway through the season. I wouldn't be surprised if they let Mitch run with it for the first half the season.
If that happens. Dude, if that happens, the Steelers just shit the bed on a first-round pick. If Trubisky starts week 1, the Steelers just need to come out with a press release and say, man, you know what? We screwed the hell up. We screwed up. Sorry. But almost like that meme, like, all right, change my mind. Like, the thing about it is that, like, even if this battle is remotely close, why in the hell would you be throwing out Mitch Trubisky to start? If it's remotely close, if Kenny Pickett looks even serviceable in this offense, you can't start Trubisky. There's no way. One, you're burning part of a year. If he starts the entire year, you're burning 1 year of a rookie deal. Number 2, this just tells you that, like, the one quarterback that went in the first round, basically they're making signal that, like, well, maybe he shouldn't have gone in the first round, which makes it an even worse freaking pick. I don't care if he went in the 20s. He shouldn't have gone in the first round, if that's the case. If Trubisky makes starts this year, the Pittsburgh Steelers just need to issue a press release and say, you know what? We done screw the hell up. And that's fine.
There you go.
Great. Yeah, and I mean that very well may be the case. Outside of the fake slide, Kenny Pickett didn't do a whole lot for me to move the needle. He was one of my lower ranked quarterbacks in this class, and like you mentioned, was a surprise there on draft night there. So if you guys, we kind of talked about them all at this point. I think we all agree that Tua is indeed our first choice here of this grouping. We were all in sync there, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I think both of you had Mac Jones as your 2 in this grouping here, followed by Zach Wilson and Kenny Pickett. So the order in which they fall here is how you guys would take them.
Yeah. Actually my rearranged order is Tua, Mac Jones, and none of the shit below it. So forget it. I'm good with you. You can miss me with both the other quarterbacks. I'm fine with it.
All right.
I don't mind that at all. I'm hoping to have my quarterbacks locked up, assuming it's a super flex league, of course.
Got to start QB, baby.
I'm hoping to have my QBs locked up long before we get to QB 17, 18, or 19. Yes. So we'll keep it moving. Let's move on into the next position here. That is going to be the running back position. Beezy, take it away here.
All right. So we have got 4 running backs that we're going to be looking at here. Ramondre Stevenson, running back 34. Chase Edmonds, RB 35. Devin Singletary, RB 36. Rashad Penny, RB 37. So, D-Bro, where are we going here, brother?
Come on, baby. You know exactly where I'm going. I'm going right to the Big Daddy. Give me Ramondre Stevenson. Yes! Give me all the smoke. Look, out of all of these running backs, he's the only one that's not basically on a 1-year deal here. Chase Edmonds has got a 2-year contract that's basically a puffed up 1-year deal. They could cut him and get out of it after this year. So it could be, sayonara, we got another running back in the draft. It could be that. And you look at, Rashad Penny and I'm blanking on the name. Let me get the show sheet back. Oh, Devin Singletary. Good Lord. Yeah, Rashad Penny's on a 1-year deal. Devin Singletary is the last year of his rookie deal. He's not going to be signed for big money anywhere else. Neither is Penny. If Penny had big money, he would have gone somewhere and not taken a 1-year deal for Seattle. So you've got one running back that stands out not only from a certainty perspective of where he's at, and people could say, but it's New England. It's New England. It's so what? I don't care. Like, that's fine. You have James White, where the reports are right now, we don't even know if he's going to play this year. We don't even know if he's going to like get stuck on the pup. And I know they just re-upped his contract, but it wasn't for a lot of money. They can get out of that if they choose to. They drafted Pierre Strong. It's a 4th round guy. Damian Harris, bye-bye. He gone next year. And New England's not going to pay him. So, what do you have? You got Ramondre Stevenson, baby! That's what you got! And the thing about it is, guys, Ramondre Stevenson showed us last year, he is really good. Like, you're looking at a running back that finished both top 12 in yards after contact per attempt and top 10 in yards per route run. We've seen what he can do both in the preseason, and people were willing to write it off like, it's the preseason. It doesn't matter that he's stiff-arming the entire damn team. It doesn't matter that he's running and he looks like basically a totally different player after shedding weight. It doesn't matter. And then he gets in the regular season and he does the same damn thing every time that he got the ball. Legitimately. You need to go add Ramondre Stevenson, like grab him in startups, add him to trades, get him right now, because this is the lowest we're going to see him, guys, and give him, like, I want him handedly over these other 3 running backs. Like, it is not even in the same area code for me. So the fact that they're ranked this closely, there's a tier break, and it's a big one. Give me the big daddy here.
Yeah, I think, go ahead, Beezy.
No, go ahead, brother.
I think the main thing here is like you can almost make a case for why Chase Edmonds, Devin Singletary, or even Rashad Penny maybe feel more valuable this season here in this season only, but there's really not a whole lot past that you see with these guys. Definitely a guaranteed workload of any kind. But with Stevenson, you do kind of have a little bit more of a tunnel there with the upside that you could chase in this range. And with these later running backs, I mean, that's really what we're after. Obviously roster dependent. If at this point you're down here in the RB 35, 36 range, if your team is competing this season, or if it is more of a 1 year kind of build up team, Stevenson makes a lot more sense for that team, or a team that's definitely maybe doing a productive struggle type startup build. But I could make a case for really any of the other 3 guys if I was building a win now team. While I like Stevenson, and he's really the more explosive back of the 2, Harris, he's a grinder. He is a good running back who runs hard and does end up getting hurt. And I think Stevenson might have that opportunity this season to step into a larger role if it presents itself. But I just don't know that he's got the upside in 22 if I'm really looking to build a win now roster. I could make a case for one of these other 3 guys.
Dan, literally all we would need to see is Damian Harris go down. That's it. Damian Harris goes down, and he was dinged up all last year. He goes down, and Ramondre is going to get a massive ass workload. He would automatically get the Damian Harris role, so he'd have early downs on lock, because James White can't play that role. Pierre Strong is not a tackle breaker and a grinder like Ramondre Stevenson is. I like Pierre Strong, do not get me wrong, but Ramondre Stevenson is just a Damian Harris injury away from being a running back that fits every single build that you possibly have, whether it's win next year, whether it's compete this year, whether it's legitimately like, I'm going to be pushing to win in 2024, because he's got 3 more years of a rookie deal. So to me, I'll push back and I'll say he can fit any way that you want to take the direction of your dynasty roster right now, because legitimately, Damian Harris went down, he's going to be the dude. If Chase Edmonds, say Raheem Mostert goes down, he still has Stoney Michel to compete with. Myles Gaskin probably gets into it, and it's still a committee. And that's not to say like New England's not going to feature some other running backs. And I know we could say, okay, well, Kenneth Walker goes down, then Rashad Penny just goes back into last year. That's fine. But we also have to go back to Rashad Penny's on a 1-year deal. So after this, you don't know where the hell he's going to end up.
Right. And that's kind of the same with the Singletary situation. We could say, if James Cook it takes a little bit longer to catch on to the playbook, is struggling in camp or what have you, maybe Singletary does go back to that workload that we saw at the end of last year, which is a workload that you really would drool over when we're talking about RB36. So, the case is there, but I think I am with you as far as Stevenson really being that guy from a dynasty perspective. I hate running backs. I hate putting any type of big investment into a running back. And if I happen to have a running back that booms, I like to get out from underneath him as quickly as possible. So, but when I am picking these later running backs, the guys that present a little bit more upside that I can be a little bit more patient with, a 1-year shelf life for these running backs, these other three that we mentioned, I mean, that can be a value killer in Dynasty. So getting that guy, as I mentioned, that has the tunnel, a little bit of light there that you can see down the road with at this point in the draft really is the direction I would lean.
100%, man. I mean, look, Damian Harris is what's keeping Ramondre Stevenson's value from going through the roof in Dynasty. This is what's keeping Ramondre down. So this is the time to strike. You've seen how many trades have I made in the last week for Stevenson? Probably about 8 or 9. And I'm getting Stevenson as a toss-in. It's not even I mean, some of them I've there's definitely something there, but I'm just Stevenson. Okay, I'll get him. Boom, done. This is a kid that you want now. If you're going to get onto that train, you strike today, you strike tomorrow, you strike before it gets going, because once he gets the load, man, and Belichick gets all excited over, this kid and his potential, it's going to go off, man. I mean, you're looking at, he kind of has a little Corey Dillon vibe there, in a sense, just with that big body just pounding away, and he's got ability in the passing game. Like, the kid is he's a good player. I was down on him coming in, but now I'm all over him, man, and I'm scooping him up in every league I can get.
Bees, I'd be following you down this rabbit hole, but I don't have to trade for him. I already drafted him last year. I don't have to trade for him. So I mean, I would be following you, man, but I'm already there.
I made that call last year where I fell into that dumb trap of it's a Bill Belichick running back, and then all of a sudden you seen him play and you were like, whoa, man, this kid's legit. He's got something going. So I'm correcting my mistakes. Again, I agree with you guys on all the other guys. Chase Edmonds, I like him. I like him in that system. I think he could be great in the passing down role. He could definitely see some. He's been efficient in Arizona when he had the backfield to himself. So if they give him a chunk of the run, he could be a decent value this year. But again, you're kind of limited to how it's a 1 year. It's a few year deal, but it's technically a 1 year deal. Singletary, I mean, he played great at the end of the year. He showed that he could be an effective back in that system. James Cook, I'm not as high on as everybody else. So I've always thought Singletary was definitely a value right now. And Penny, I'll give everybody this. Penny's value is fine at RB37. You can get him great. Maybe you get some upside there. But I don't see the hoopla over a guy that's basically had about 4 or 5 games his entire career where he's had good numbers and he looked good. He could not even beat out Chris Carson for the starting gig when he came into the league. So a 7th round running back just whooped out a 1st round running back's butt in camp and took over that role. Penny is due, and everybody keeps saying he's going to do something. It's not. Give me the Kenneth Walker at this point. I'm out on Penny. See you later.
Miami has 67 running backs.
I saw that. That's funny. There's another point I want to make about Miami, too. Now, if y'all watched any of the pressers that Mike McDaniel did after the draft, him and the GM were laughing their asses off because I think their first pick wasn't until the 3rd round. And if you listen back to the clips on it, they got sniped on Tyrion Davis-Price. Like, he must have been high on their board at that part of the draft, and they were like, yeah, we were looking at somebody, and he got taken right before us. So don't discount, even if Chase Edmonds hangs around there for 2 years, don't discount, look, it's not going to be Sony Michel and Raheem Mostert next year. They're probably going to bring in another back to pair with him regardless. If not, put capital behind another running back to take over the heavy lifting of that backfield. So right now, if you can get, we get some camp hypes, videos, and stuff like that of Chase Edmonds being like, boom, one-handed catch, then buy. Throw him toss him in a trade. Buy. Gone.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any Dolphins running back I do want, it is definitely Chase Edmonds. I have absolutely no, no want for either Mostert or Michelle at this point. They're just really not valuable. I mean, we need to see, Tua and the Dolphins constantly be putting them in a scoring position and getting goal line work and being efficient with that goal line work to really even have a hope. While Chase Edmonds, we know he's going to get the third down work. He's probably going to be working the 2-minute drill. He's probably not going to see that goal line work, but depending on what McDaniels is planning on doing from an offensive perspective, I mean, this guy seems like he could be an absolute wild card. Yes, we know the coaching tree that he comes from, but just based on what I've seen from him in his short time that he has been there, I wouldn't really put anything and lock it in as far as what this guy's going to do. It's a surprise, and this leads to ambiguity here at the running back position for Miami. All these guys are pretty far down. Yes, Chase Edmonds RB35. You are going to have to pay up for more than the others, but as I mentioned, PPR leagues, which just seems almost a standard at this point, Chase Edmonds is definitely the guy that I am willing to take a chance on.
All right.
Anything, I guess let's go ahead and rank those guys behind Stevenson. Let's do Edmonds, Singletary, and Penny. Rank them for me, D-Bro.
Okay. I would go Stevenson, Edmonds. Give me Penny over Singletary. I'm not in on Singletary. Look, not only have the Bills told us, and he has been a really damn elusive back over the last 2 to 3 seasons. That's not the problem. But the Bills have told us this, and not only have the Bills told us this, but Singletary's numbers have told us this. He's a terrible pass protector. He is not great in the run in the receiving game. Yeah, he got targets, but he didn't do shit with them last year. He was so horribly inefficient with it. So you're looking at, like, have we seen just crazy upside just based off the rushing equity Rashad Penny has and the talent that when he is supposedly right, that he can be, I mean, honestly, one of the best pure rushers in the NFL. And based off of what last year's stretch run we saw, I don't think that that's crazy to say. Now, we've only seen it in that one instance. I get that. But I'll take that brief flash over a player like Devin Singletary, where he's an early down grinder who's not big enough to be an early down grinder. So even the role that he kind of like seems like he fits, he doesn't. So I don't want any Singletary.
Yeah, 50 targets each of the past 2 seasons for Singletary. As you mentioned, the efficiency wasn't quite there.
Terrible.
The Bills were more than apparent in the fact that they were looking for a receiving back after J.D. McKissick. Free Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick to the Bills. No, just kidding. Antonio Gibson is now even deader than dead was before, and here we are. But Beezy, what about you? Edmonds, Singletary, Penny. Just rank those 3 for me real quick before we move on into the wide receivers.
For me, just like you said it, man, it's Edmonds, it's Singletary. Penny, I will have nothing to do with ever. It may just be my personal grudge against people holding me back from this one, but Penny is just he's just a guy that I cannot get on board with. No, thank you.
All righty. Well, that is the running back position. Let's move along, though, here into the wide receivers at this point, and we're going a little bit further down here, starting with Hunter Renfrow, wide receiver 44, Michael Gallup, wide receiver 45, Kadarius Toney, wide receiver 46, and Christian Kirk coming in at wide receiver 49. D-Bro, we're going to kick it off to you. You're on the clock. You need some wide receiver depth here. You've already locked up your starting too, but you need a little bit of depth here. These are the top options on the board. Tell me who you're going with and tell me why.
I'm going to take the home run swing. I'm going to go for Kadarius Toney here. I think that he has the highest tangible upside of any of these guys. And I know we saw it in a really brief flash last year. I understand the injuries. I understand some of the all-field stuff. I get all of that. And if Kadarius Toney fails, it's not probably because of talent. Because what we saw in a really, really brief stretch. He was only one of 5 wide receivers last year to be targeted on 29% or higher of his routes and to have over 2 yards per route run. And that list that he is on with these other 5 wide receiver, I mean, it's elite, man. You're talking about Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Antonio Brown, players like that are in this same stratosphere as what Kadarius Toney did last year. And I understand, small sample size, but legitimately, who is he competing with targets? Dusty Kenny Galladay, who sadly, like, as a player that I liked previously, but that type of archetype of contested catch, go up and get it type of wide receiver, you need 2 different things. One, a good quarterback that's willing to sit here and make those types of throws. And number 2, you're going to need some luck, because that type of archetype, when it falls off fast. We've already seen that with Kenny Galladay. So I think there's a real and easy path for Kadarius Toney to just explode this year. So I'll take the home run swing with him. He's the guy that I'll put my hat on for this group, because outside of that, look, I get we saw Hunter Renfrow play well last year. Again, no Darren Waller. He's got Devontae Adams to contend with. You're really hoping for a Darren Waller, and I know I'm not saying we're hoping for injuries, but like for the upside scenario of Hunter Renfrow over the next, say, 2 seasons, you need an injury to one of the other top dogs for him to really gravitate back to what we saw last year. If I'm not going to go with Kadarius Toney here, guys, Christian Kirk is probably my number 2. I honestly think that I don't want to say he's the best value in Dynasty right now, but he is way too damn low in Dynasty startups. Way too low. Legitimately, like, he drops like a damn stone, and it's because of Jacksonville and because everybody just, we're all just spiking on the contract that he got. Okay. Well, we might think that the contract itself, just as a standalone thing, might be dumb as shit, but it still doesn't matter because he's going to get a lot of targets. He's one of the latest guys you can get in a Dynasty startup that could easily project for 120, 130 targets. Yeah. That's crazy. Like, where he goes in Dynasty startups is absolutely ludicrous. He's young, and he's under cost control certainty. Who the hell else is going to get targets there? What, Marvin Jones? No. Zay Jones? Shit, no. Like, he's a great value. So if it's not Toney for me, I'll take Christian Kirk, man.
Yeah, I love that call. I'm there with you as far as Toney goes. As you mentioned, those targets per route run last year, finishing ahead of guys like my guy, Deontay Johnson, who came in at 6, Tyreek Hill at 7, Justin Jefferson at 8. So we're really talking about, putting this guy in a category with some real top dogs. Yes, that sample size was little, but I mean, we saw, once again, talent demands targets. And when this guy was on the field and running routes, he was getting those targets. And he's got the wiggle to just essentially take just about any catch he takes to the house. I really like this kid coming out of Florida this past year. I wasn't as high on him as a prospect, but obviously the Giants were high on him, coming in and giving him the capital that they did give him. And we did get to see a glimpse of maybe what they saw, and it was nice. And Debro mentioned, I mean, the other options there, yes, there's a lot of chefs there in that kitchen, if you will. But as I mentioned, the talent is going to demand the targets. And Kadarius Toney was absolutely electric when they got the ball in his hands. They're going to find a way to do it. Daball being there, I think, is really going to allow Daniel Jones, if healthy, to take a next step here in his career. Really, he seems like he's fighting for his job at this point. If he comes out and is throwing out bricks this year, this could be the last of Daniel Jones here for the Giants. So I'm hoping he does. I think all Giants really in general at this point, including Saquon Barkley, are all good buys at their given cost. And that's I'm talking best ball, I'm talking redraft, and sure, I'm talking dynasty, because none of these guys that really have any respect on their value at this time. So, even if it doesn't work out, the cost isn't going to be there. So some Giants, go get them. Kadarius Toney, probably my favorite one to buy right now, but Daniel Jones is a sneaky buy this year. Yes, the risk, as I mentioned, is there, but the upside, I think we could talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I feel it, man. Like, Tony has been he's a guy that I'm not touching, and I won't touch. This is just my own personal thing here. When the Giants threw it up that he could be traded during the draft, I think there's smoke there, man. I think they realize that they got a kid that, he potentially his skill set's ridiculous, and he does have the upside to be, a great wide receiver in the NFL. But
then why aren't you trading for him? Why are you not touching him, Bees? Tell me that. You're making out a positive case, but in the other sentence you said you don't want him.
I think that this kid reminds me a lot of, not from the skill set perspective, but he reminds me of a Devontae Parker, a kid that could come out. He's gonna have this is who he reminds me of, a kid that's gonna come out. He's gonna show you this electric skill set, or this skill set that just is like, yes, he's gonna be a wide receiver one, and you might see it one year, and then he's just gonna fade year after year, and then he'll have another little resurgence, and then he's gonna fade and fade. I don't know. There's just a lot of there's just like little smoke things that keep coming up with him. His attitude, the Giants kind of came out and they grabbed Wan'Dale Robinson, who in a sense can be a gadget player similar to the way that he is. I don't know, man. I just do not feel Kadarius Toney, and I just don't want anything to do with him. And I'm willing to take Renfro here. I think that he has got, one of the best. I think he's so underrated for what he can bring to the table. Josh McDaniels coming over from New England. I mean, this system, his offensive system has, slot guys have been a huge part of it. Now, Devontae Adams is there. He's going to see a bigger target share. Darren Waller's coming back. You got to account for those. But in all honesty, I think Renfro could see more targets than what people are giving him for in that offense. And I think he is a massive value right now for where he is going. Same be it for Christian Kirk. I've always been a Kirk fan. I have him on so many of my different teams, but like Debro said, he went to Jacksonville. We all got, it's a Jacksonville. Oh, he's going to suck, blah, 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 blah. Another big buy for me. I think he fits well into that system. He's going to be playing in the slot. Trevor Lawrence is, they're going to be in a lot of negative game scripts, so Lawrence is going to have to throw it. I think, he is going to see a really 120, 130 targets this year. And Christian Kirk can get deep too. He's not just this little, flash across the field guy. He can move the chains. So I like him moving forward, but Toney, not for me. Gallup, he might be one of the most overrated wide receivers in the NFL right now, unfortunately. And we know, Debo's on mute.
Man, go ahead. I'm boomering it up. Good Lord.
Go get him, man. Go get him.
So here's the thing, man. I didn't even, and if everybody wants to rewind that, you didn't even hear me mention Gallup's name when I went through these wide receivers.
Nope.
And sadly, that's because his efficiency metrics are bad. And I understand people go to like, oh, it's Dallas, so it's counting stats and things like that. And I'm not saying like, I didn't want to throw too much shade at Gallup, but if you look at his yards per route run in 3 of the 4 seasons out of his career, the season that he was fantastic was the year that he had the breakout season. I want to say it was 2019 off the top of my head. But outside of that, you're looking at a player that hasn't crested 1.4 yards per route run in any season. And just to give context, the players that are down there in the 1.3, 1.4 range are replacement level talents. If I were to roll through the names, you'd be like, oh, good Lord, I don't want any of these guys. But Michael Gallup is down there. And so as much as I like the Dallas passing attack, as much as I like Dak, as much as I like his situation, if we're talking about players that are going to continually earn targets, and you're also basically going to be dealing with like almost like a bye year with Gallup right now, in the sense that like he's probably going to miss a lot of games this season. And when he does come back, even the previous effectiveness, you can't sit here and sew him into for the 2022 season. So even after this year, you've got a perfect storm that somebody else can step up in this offense to take that number 2 role, because they really should. Like, players that have gotten a lot of volume in the past and basically have gotten a lot of volume not because they are incredibly talented and they're commanding that volume, but basically they were the best option out of options. Yep. That means that whenever we get more talent in the depth chart, you're not going to see them command those same types of targets. One of the guys that like perfectly fits this diagram, and people still want to chase because he's young, although he has been wretchedly efficient his entire career, is DJ Chark. Like, he posted yards per route run numbers really, really similar to Michael Gallup, like, over his career. Now, yeah, they're basically what and what. The only thing that is with Gallup in the breakout season, we saw his yards per route run go up into, like, the upper echelon tier where you're like, wow, this guy is good. But then he crested right back into the doldrums that he had been in previously in the other times of his career. Chark never gave us that, like, outwardly efficient season, even in his breakout year, to say, okay, maybe that's in his range of outcomes. But outside of injuries, which I know is part of the realm with DJ Chark, you're seeing other players have come into there, have commanded targets and stuff. And he also wasn't signed as a free agent to, like, a multi-year deal or anything like that. If Dallas didn't sign Gallup, maybe he wouldn't have got the same kind of deal. So Gallup is going to be the bottom of this list for me. And it's not that I hate the player. It's just that we all have our processes and how we look at players and their dynasty values and trying to project them, not what they've done previously, but project them forward. 100%. Gallup's a guy I would be trading away in every single freaking league, and I don't want anything to do with.
Love it.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much on the same page. Me and Debro going Tony, Kirk, Renfro, Gallup, and Beezy, who's shitting all over Tony, probably has him a little bit further down. But
well, I mean, he shit on him, and then he kind of cleaned him up with a napkin and said, like, "Oh, I'm sorry that I did that," and then decided to just crap on him again.
Double deuce.
It's like the wood stain. It's like the wood stain that you paint on, and then you have to take a rag and, like, wipe it off to achieve the color that you're looking for. So Beezy, good looking out. Let's move on into the tight ends, though, Beezy. And we are starting here with really back-end tight end 1, upper echelon tight end 2 here with Cole Kmet at tight end 12, Noah Fant, tight end 13, Albert O, tight end 14, and Irv Smith coming in at tight end 15. Debro, we're going to kick it to you again, man. Let's just start off. Let me hear the process. I mean, run it down, go through each one, starting with the guy who you're going to go ahead and run up to the podium and smash here when you're on the clock.
There's two guys that I'm fighting. There's an inner battle, fellas. There's inner turmoil, indigestion. I don't feel good about having to choose between both of these guys. Are basically like sons to me. But we have to make a choice. Cole Kmet's the guy that I'll take out of the top for any one of these guys. One, you go to contract. He's still got some years in his rookie deal. He's still going to be able to grow with Justin Fields. He's only competing with targets with Darnell Mooney. And the other thing about it is we saw all the usage numbers were there for Kmet last year. He was top 12 in damn near everything you can point to. He was top 12 in target share. He was top 12 in receptions, receiving yards. The only thing he didn't do was score touchdowns. He had 0. If he didn't score touchdowns, he wouldn't even be on this list. If he had gotten into the end zone 5 or 6 times, he would have been sniffing close to top 10, top 12 tight end ranking last year, and he wouldn't even be this low. People wouldn't even be talking about, like, you would not see him ranked this low in Dynasty if that would have happened. So he's the guy I'm going to go with over the rest of this field. And it is not because I don't love Irv Smith. I am still on the hashtag Let Irv Swerve movement. It is a thing. It needs to continue. I think we're going to see him ball out this year. But I bump Irv a little bit lower because he's also, and I don't know if people put this together because he's still, like, we've only seen him in spurts. We haven't seen him over a full season of being the number one guy. He's going to get that this year, but I don't know if people realize he's on the final year of his rookie deal too. So after that, like, I love the fact that he's in a contract year in the sense that if he goes out and he does the damn thing, Minnesota probably retains him, would be my guess, because Adam Thielen's getting older and they don't have anybody else behind Justin Jefferson. I'm sorry, KJ Osborne was okay. He wasn't great. So don't come at me with KJ Osborne love. I think they keep Irv Smith there but he's going to have to put up the numbers. And I think that we see that the runway is clear for him to do that this year. But if we're splitting hairs and I got to pick a top guy, it's Cole Kmet, because, again, there is that uncertainty with Irv Smith about what happens to him after this year. As much as I love him, because you're looking at a consolidated target tree, fellas. It's Justin Jefferson, it's Adam Thielen, and it's Irv Smith. Like, after that, what you got, KJ Osborne? Who else? Even like Dalvin Cook? Dalvin Cook's probably the number 3 option. Like,
right.
You know, so that's where I'm at with it. So I think Irv and Kmet are a higher tier than the other guys here. And this is not because I'm throwing shade at Albert O. I think he is a really, really talented player. But if we look at what Hackett did in Green Bay, they're going to run a lot of 21 personnel. They're going to run a lot of 12 personnel. Greg Dulcich is there. So you look at all the different parts and pieces of this passing attack. Albert O is fighting to be the 3rd, maybe 4th guy there. He might even be the 5th. He might be the 5th. It's possible, because you go down the target pecking order. There's Cortland Sutton, who is at the top. He's number 1. Just want to throw that out there. He's number 1. It's not Jerry Jeudy, so don't go down that rabbit hole. Just tell me.
Okay.
Just tell me.
Jerry.
Throwing that out there. We can have a Jerry Jeudy fight at the very end of this. I'm totally fine with that. We can throw down. But let me get back to the tight ends. Albert O, the problem is that you have Cortland Sutton, you have Jerry Jeudy, you have Tim Patrick. Oh, my Lord, you still have KJ Hamler. Every one of those guys could be fighting for targets over Albert O this year, and you have Greg Dulcich waiting in the wings, which I understand it's a rookie tight end. But again, we're talking about a system that's going to feature 2 tight ends on the same field at the same time. That's going to eat in some routes. It's going to eat in some targets, unless Alberto is just going to be the unquestioned guy and he never comes off the field, which we don't know. It could be both of the guys running routes on 50, 60% of dropbacks, and that's a cap Alberto's ceiling, much less the fact of where he fits in the target pecking order. And so for me, it's Kmet, it's Irv, it's Alberto, and then I'll put Noah Fant at the very bottom, because, like, Seattle, again, we're going to see 2 tight ends. They gave a stupid contract to Will Dissly, fellas, and Noah Fant's never really been a thing. Like, I don't want to chase the 3rd or 4th option on a passing attack that's going to have Geno Smith or Drew Lock under center for this year, and we're just hoping and praying they get competent quarterback play after that. So,
yep.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I like Kmet the most out of these 3. And then I have Albert O and Irv Smith actually pretty close, neck and neck, and Noah Fant a little bit below them. So I think we're all pretty much on par here for what we would do and the guys we would target in this general range.
Yeah, I'm again, Kmet was my guy to start with here. Absolutely big year coming for that kid. Everybody knows the Irv Smith guy, man. I have been going after Irv for the last 2 years. I love this kid. The talent is there. The opportunity is there. And like Debro said, he's on the contract year. So he wants to make an impression. He wants to get paid. He's only 23 years old. This kid is a Juju Smith-Schuster of tight ends. He's just...
That sounded like a slight. I'm gonna take that as a slight.
That's not a slight, dude. It's just age-wise. We're just not gonna age. No, but Irv is incredible, man. He's got a really versatile skill set. He can line up all over the field. I think that like I said, KJ Osborne, I was never a big fan of. But I think the Irv can definitely step up and take over that role as that number 3 or number 4 guy in terms of the pecking order. So for me, it's Kmet, Irv, Alberto, and then Fant at the bottom.
Beautiful, guys. All right, let's move along into our next segment. And in this segment, Debro, I'm just going to throw a couple of quick questions at you, and you hook us up with an answer and maybe a couple of minutes of analysis as to why you went that route. And I'm rereading my first question here. It almost feels like a no-brainer. I'm going to kind of change it up here on the fly, put you on the spot here, and just ask you, in a nutshell, this season, would you rather have Ezekiel Elliott or James Conner and go?
Conner. Give me Conner. Give me Tons of Connor. Don't die. No. I don't want Zeke. Zeke has been run to the point where the tires don't have a lot of tread left on them. And this happens to all running backs. I mean, yes, we could point to efficiency metrics and say he tailed off. I get it. I get it. He played hurt all last year. Okay, that's fine. Like, he's getting to a point in his career and the workload's piling up to where we can't assume that we're going to see that Ezekiel Elliott of old and stuff. And I understand we have best shape of your life season that's coming up, and we'll probably see one or two, like, pictures of Zeke with some, like, some abs. And everybody's going to be like, okay, back in on the Zeke train. But for me, man, like, James Conner is in a fantastic situation. He's one of the best running backs you can get in Dynasty right now. If we're all talking about we play in 2-year windows, 3-year windows, which everybody talks about that shit. But then they want to sit here and they go the age route. And they're like, but he's too old. He's got a 2-year contract, people. 2-year contract that's going to make him a workhorse. He's not going anywhere. This is a team that's top 10 in red zone rushing rate. So people will point to, well, he got all these carries inside the 20, inside the 10, inside the 5. Yes, he did. And that could easily happen again this year. He can get more touchdowns this year. And I understand. He scored a ton of touchdowns last year. I understand that. But this is a team that tells you we want to run the rock in close. That's not changing, man. Like, as much as I like Kyler, they talk about, like, okay, they don't let Kyler cook and stuff. This offense is deemed, and it's manufactured around the fact that Kyler can't see the middle of the field. You look at all of his targets, where he goes, where he throws, how this offense is prescribed, how it's drawn up. He does not throw over the middle of the field. Maybe that changes this year, but it'd be one of those things where it's like, okay, we need to see it because we haven't seen it yet. And it's going to remain a run-heavy offense. It's going to remain a team that is going to be in the red zone often. It's going to remain a team that is going to be running a lot when they get in close. So James Conner, you're telling me he's got double-digit touchdown upside? Shit, he could lead the team. He could lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns, and I don't think that's a crazy statement. And he does that, and he's got 2-year contract certainty. Why do people not want this man in Dynasty is beyond me. Like, him and Leonard Fournette, and people consider and make the weight jokes. If you are practicing what you preach, and you play in a 2-year window in Dynasty, you should want as much Leonard Fournette and James Conner as you could possibly freaking get your hands on. And yes, you're going to point to, oh, well, the injuries. You just described the entire running back position. They all get injured because guess what? It's the position. The injury risk is high. If they stay healthy, then it's Yahtzee. We get 13, 14 games. We're sitting here praising the stars in the heavens. We don't need 17 games. Give me 13, 14 games of elite RB production. I'll figure the shit out for the other 3 or 4 games. That's fine. That's totally fine. So if you really play in a 2-year window, James Conner should be the slam dunk answer here.
I love it.
All right, D-Bro, I'm going to give you, for the next one, I'm going to give you 4 second-year wide receivers.
I know this one already.
And I want you to tell me which one you believe is going to take the leap this year. And that we're going to start with Bateman, Elijah Moore, Devonta Smith, and Kadarius Toney. Of those 4, I have a feeling I know which one you're going to talk up here as well. But let's go ahead and hear it and tell us why.
Dan. We could have just saved about 15 seconds off the show out there. You could have just stopped the list of Rashad Bateman. You really could. You could have just said Rashad Bateman, and the rest of the names don't matter because I know where he's going to go with this. Considering I have Rashad Bateman as a top 15 Dynasty wide receiver, and guess what, fellas? I was there last year. He was inside my top 20. So if you're following the ranks, you would already had one massive shit ton of Rashad Bateman on your Dynasty squads. You're welcome. Rashad Bateman is going to just crush this year. He was an elite level prospect last year. He did not get a ton of playing time. We didn't see him get 80% or more snaps until freaking week 15. Yet, he still finished half of his games as a top 36 wide receiver. And I understand that's a really low bar, but you got to understand quarterback play, a rookie who basically was asked to play the X role from the jump, which he can play, but as a rookie coming in who was hurt throughout camp, missed a large chunk at the beginning of the season when you're building rapport, you're getting reps, you're getting starters reps, you're missing tons of time in practice, and yet he came out He performed well. He commanded targets. And he was top 30 in win rate versus man coverage. If you head over to reception perception, he's fantastic. Matt Harmon does amazing work, which if this is not part of your process, welcome. I don't know where the hell you've been. You need to go head over there and check out his work. Above the 80th percentile in man press zone, like he's checking all the damn boxes, and he was elite level prospect. Coming out, he checks all the damn boxes you want. Early career production in college. Elite numbers in yards per route run, what he was doing. Oh, and guess what? He could play the outside. Oh, dear Lord. And he could play the slot because he did both of those things at Minnesota. He's going to crush this year, fellas. And don't come at me with Baltimore's going to run the damn ball. Marquise Brown was top 12 in target share amongst all wide receivers last year. He was wide receiver 21 in fantasy points per game. I understand they threw more in neutral script. It's Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman. Who in the shit is going to get targets outside of the two of them? So they can run a bunch, and Rashad Bateman can still get 120 plus targets this year, people. This year. I love Rashad Bateman. He's a top 15 Dynasty wide receiver. I have him comfortably inside my top 24 wide receivers for the season in redraft. I have all the Rashad Bateman. I would get more if I could, but I already got it all, so that's fine. I don't have to trade for him. I want him over all these guys, and it's not to say that I don't love Devonta Smith, because what he did last year was fantastic. I'm a Jalen Hurts stan. I don't give two shits. The guy can play. He plays well. He's gotten better every single year he's been in college and the NFL as a quarterback. So don't come at me and tell me that he can't continue to get better, because he will. He'll show you. It's all good. So I like Devonta Smith. I like the other wide receivers here. But it's Shoddy B, man. It's Shoddy B by a mile.
Say no more. Say no more. So
Boom.
the last one here I have for you, D-Bro, is which rookie from this year's class do you think will have the best ROI when we are at the end of this season? So, obviously we've had guys like Justin Jefferson, who you were getting at 110, 111 in some super flex leagues. Who's the guy this year that you can really see taking that leap? And you didn't necessarily have to spend even a top 5, top 6 rookie pick on this year, but is going to leapfrog all those guys there that went ahead of him.
Okay, so the caveat, I was going to say the slam dunk on the ROI was going to be Drake London. But you threw the caveat in here, Dan, about you can't have a top 3, top 5 pick. So that throws a wrench in the gear, my man. And we're going with just rookie wide receivers here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Or actually, it can be any rookie. There's not a whole lot of running backs, obviously, in this range that you were talking about. But I mean, you could say, one of these running backs, or Rashad White, if Lenny gets, goes down or whatever.
I'll give you two names. And you didn't need a top 5 pick to get one of these guys. You didn't even need a first-round pick to get the other one. I'll start off with Isaiah Spiller. Isaiah Spiller was not a guy that I was massively into as a prospect of walking into the NFL, but where he landed, and I do think that he has a good skill set and good enough numbers to produce. This was not me crapping on him. I think he has enough athleticism to play in the NFL and meet the benchmarks that we need. The reason I love Isaiah Spiller is he's going to walk in week 1 and be the one beat Austin Eckler. If Eckler goes down, if he misses time at all, Isaiah Spiller is going to be a freaking guy we're going to be ranking as a top 10 running back on a weekly basis. Joshua Kelly's not getting run. Larry Roundtree's not getting run. I have Isaiah Spiller as a top 36 running back for redraft right now, and I understand that people might think that is spicy, but you get into that range, tell me why Isaiah Spiller, as being a guy who's going to be a running mate with Austin Eckler on a team that's going to be top 5 in scoring, top 5 in red zone opportunities. Tell me why or how this offense can't support 2 top 36 wide receivers if he gets the volume. Now, if you want to do in your projections where he's not going to get the volume, okay, that's fine. But I think you're wrong in the sense that they do not want to run Austin Eckler into the damn ground. Bingo. They don't. This is a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. So they want Eckler healthy and fresh for the entire season. We might not love that for fantasy. And I think that pushes Eckler down a little bit. But I love Isaiah Spiller, man. I've been grabbing him up in every single draft. He was falling to like the 205. Shit, you could get him at like the end of the second round in some rookie dynasty drafts. Like I got him at the 210 in some spots. And these are industry leagues, guys.
Yep.
And I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, I didn't expect when I walked out of NFL draft season that I was going to be this Spiller guy, but shit, here we are. Yeah. So I like Isaiah Spiller, man. But the other name that is going to sit here and be on this list, if it's not Drake London, because you needed a top 3 pick to get Drake London, I am so sick and freaking tired because people hype up a player and he lands on a really good team, it's okay for you to love him. Like, you got permission. It's fine. You can be happy about a player. That's fine. Like, the Dynasty community as a whole is so freaking terrible about, like, wanting to go the other direction just to be different. About, like, oh, well, we've seen this before. We've seen this before. There was a second-round wide receiver that didn't do shit. If you're comparing Mecole Hardman and Sky Moore as the same damn prospect level, you need to go back and reconsider how you're evaluating rookies. I'm going to throw that out there. Because Sky Moore checks all the boxes. All of them. If you want to go with the reception perception, his top, like, he's almost 90 percentile versus every single mark that you can name. He led the damn nation in missed tackles forced. He is a yak machine. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. And dear Lord, we're talking about a player who was going outside the top 5 picks. You could still, if you didn't have a rookie draft or you're walking into it, dear Lord, now, you're probably still going to see him outside the top 5 or 6 picks. It's just, it's happening. It has been happening. I've taken him as early as 105 in a lot of rookie drafts, and people are like, you took him over Treylon Burks? What are you doing? You're an idiot. Oh my God, you took him over Jameson Williams? Well, I play in a shit ton of leagues. Yeah, I got my Jameson Williams exposure. That's fine. I got him, he's ranked as wide receiver 2. I'm not a JMO hater. Love the man. But you're talking about Sky Moore is attached to one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He was a supreme prospect coming out. And, next year, he's competing with targets with a year older Travis Kelce, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Sorry, not Juju, because he's a free agent. He's only on a 1-year deal. Mecole Hardman. No. Mecole Hardman's going to be a free agent, too. So, Sky Moore is going to be competing with Travis Kelce and Marquez Valdez-Scantling for targets in his year 2 in the Kansas City Chiefs offense, tied to Patrick Mahomes for the next 3+ seasons. And we don't want that player? What the hell are we doing here? I don't get it. I don't get it. Why push back against the hype? It's fine if you like good players. It's even better if you like good players that are on good teams. It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, well, you heard it from Derek. I mean, if you're looking for some good ROI and you happen to have any rookie drafts left, target Isaiah Spiller and try and make a trade and get there to that 106, 109 range there. And maybe you can get a piece of Sky Moore because the sky is indeed the limit with him and the situation he finds himself in. So let's keep it moving along here, though. I think that is pretty much most of the segments. Derek, I did want to take a minute to mention an article that you just recently dropped. It is Derek Brown's Perfect 2022 Fantasy Football Draft article. Tell everybody a little bit about that and more importantly, where they can find it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all my content is at FantasyPros. I do the podcast with Joe and Erickson, as well as we have just a ridiculously talented team, from Pat Morris to Matthew Freeman to, I mean, everybody on the team is fantastic, man. So I'm in the podcast. The article that you're mentioning right now is part of our redraft kit, which should be live before the end of June. We're really pushing. All of our writers are in the final stages. I've got a few pieces that I got to sit here and finish to get that thing live. They're going to have that live on Fantasy Pros, so look for the redraft kit. The best ball kit is already live. Tons of content in there, as well as the Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide is still live there. Even if you're done with your rookie drafts, that thing is a beast. It's an absolute beast. So if you're just now getting into Dynasty, you're going to do another startup. We got all of our ranks. There's strategy pieces. There's trade pieces. There's approaches for every different type of build you would want to go for, different formats, different scoring systems, all in these kits. It's a mountain of content, guys. So the redraft kit, as well as my perfect draft, man, I poured a lot of time and effort into that. I really want to give people as much as I possibly can and the best that I can produce out there. So I went through 30 plus players for this, going through all like the top 13 rounds. Basically the top 3 rounds, I'm laying out 2+ players that you can get at every different spot of the round. These are players that I'm heavily exposed to and will be heavily exposed to in best ball formats, redraft. I'm not going to sit here and tell you something that I am not also going to do myself. That's not going to happen. So if I'm sitting here telling you with inflection, with energy, and putting it out there in the content space off of players that I'm going after, this is the list. No bullshit. These are the list of players that I'm going to be heavily exposed to this year. So if you want to find out all those players, and it's a lot of them, head over to Fantasy Pros today, man. Check it out. My perfect draft is live, and there's more to come.
Yeah, and I will have the link to that article here in the description post show here. So just if you're listening in on this, check the description and you can click the link right there to find that article. I want to make sure that everybody is indeed here sub to the Sons of Dynasty YouTube page. Click the bell. You'll get notified when we go live or anytime that we upload any new content. A big thank you to Fantasy Points Media Group. As we mentioned, use our promo code SUNS22 to get 10% off there at fantasypoints.com with that premium subscription. Also want to take a moment to shout out brother Matt, who is with us tonight behind the scenes, takes care of all the production and layover work that goes into each and every show we do. Does not get the facial recognition, but is every bit as important as anybody else here tonight. So we do give a good hat tip there to brother Matt. Once again, check out Viridian Global to get all your SOD gear. I am stocked up with Viridian. You know, I'm wearing the shirt, the hat right now. I'm about to actually get some Fantasy Points gear. I want to get a little bit of that Fantasy Points swag to put on when we are doing these Fantasy Points Media Group. So Viridian Global, I mean, they have a plethora of choices, whether you want to support a small, fantasy football entity such as Sons of Dynasty, or even some big boys that they have up there. There's 50, 60, 70 even at this point for you to choose from. So, if Sons of Dynasty isn't what you're into, there's plenty more, including generic NFL team shirts and everything else. We couldn't be happier to be partnered up with Viridian.
Dan,
it's been wonderful for us.
Do not sell yourself short. This is not a small entity. This is a growing enterprise. That's how we need to frame this, my friend. It's a growing enterprise.
Hey, absolutely. We try to get the big fish on here, so that way, big fish, big splash, baby.
Oh man, y'all done messed up. I don't know what y'all thought y'all were getting with me then, because that wasn't the case.
Hey,
I done lied to somebody.
Beezy, anything else you want to, plug or say before we get out of here this evening, man?
Man, I just want to say a special thank you to D-Bro for coming on, my man. It's been a pleasure shooting the shit with you today. It's been a long time coming, my man, and grateful to have you.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate the time. Appreciate y'all having me. I know everybody says that on every damn show they go on, but literally, this has been a blast. I mean, y'all are outside of the content space and things of that nature. Two amazing humans. Love interactions. Love every talks that we've ever had, man. So more power to you, and people need to be supporting your work, man. I really thank y'all for having me.
Appreciate that, man. We really do appreciate you coming on this evening, and even the GIF drops that we were doing in the group chat all day long, man. I was hyped up for this one, and I don't know, it's going to take me a little while to come down off of this one as well. So again, big shout out to you, man. We appreciate you. It's great to see you succeed in this space and take that next step, man. And I couldn't be happier for you, man.
Thanks, brother. Grind knows grind, real knows real. So I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Appreciate you all tuning in. And until next time, much love to everybody out there.
Much love, fam.
Yeah. D-Bro, hey.